Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are going to be looking at skill 9 for the structure section of the TOEFL preparation course. Now, we come from looking at the grammar from skills 6 to 8. I don't know if you remember what we saw there, but we saw connectors, right? In skill 6, we saw coordinate connectors like and, or, so, but, yet. And in 7 and 8, we saw more connectors like providing, provided, when, wherever, where, before, after, right? So we could say that skills 6, 7, and 8 were together, right? Because the common topic among those three skills was connectors, right? Something similar is going to happen with skills 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? In this case, we're going to be now connecting clauses, right? So it says more sentences with multiple clauses. For this, we need to remember one thing. A connector, right? If we have one connector, this means that we have two verbs, right? Two subjects and two verbs. So subject verb, clause number one, subject verb, clause number two, connector. If we have two connectors, right, then we need three verbs, right? If we have three connectors, I'm forgetting to put the R. If we have three connectors, then how many verbs do we need? Four verbs, right? And so on and so on. So what this means is that we're going to be connecting clauses, right? Multiple clauses. Now, this is going to get crazy, right? From here, the grammar starts to get crazy. So if there's something that you don't understand, make sure you review it, because as we go on, it just gets more and more complex and more difficult, okay? So we're going to be looking at skill number 9 first. And we have to keep this in mind. Skill number 9 is going to be similar to skill number 11. And skill number 10 is going to be similar to skill number 12, right? In this case, first we're working with noun clauses, okay? Noun clauses. So for this, we need to remember what is a noun. Do any of you remember what is a noun? Yes, correct. A noun is a person, is a place, is a thing, is an idea, etc., right? So anything that is a thing, right? In Spanish, it would be like an ente or an entity, or any type of thing that exists is a noun. Here, we're going to summarize it more or less in the word it, right? It. It is going to be the noun, the idea, the thing, right? Okay, so it says a noun clause is a clause that functions as a noun, right? So it functions as a noun because it can be summarized into this word, it, right? We have to keep this in mind, because the noun clause is a noun. It is used in a sentence either as an object of a verb, an object of a preposition, or the subject of a sentence, right? Okay, and we're going to look at examples here. Basically, the way we know if it's an object of a verb or an object of a preposition is if what's after it is a verb or a preposition. If it's a verb, it's an object of a verb. If it's a preposition, it's an object of a preposition, right? For example, here it says, I know when he will arrive, right? Which in Spanish would be like, yo sé cuándo va a llegar. I know when he will arrive. So if we're to scrutinize this sentence, we can see that when is my connector, I know is my first clause, and he will arrive is my second clause, right? But something else is happening here. So when he will arrive is a statement which we can basically summarize in the pronoun it, right? In other words, I know it. Yo sé eso, right? I know what? I know when he will arrive, right? And since when he will arrive is after a verb, then this is a noun clause as object of verb, right? Okay, now let's look at an example for noun clause as object of preposition. Here it says, I am concerned about when he will arrive, right? So again, we have I am, subject verb, when, which is a connector, right? And then he will arrive is my second subject verb, my second clause. But again, something's happening here, which is this statement or this structure, when he will arrive, can it be summarized into it? Can I say I am concerned about it? Yes, right? So this is a noun clause as object of preposition since it is after the preposition about, right? So here we have an object of a verb example, and here we have an object of a preposition example. Remember that it's object because it's after the verb, right? Or after the preposition in this case with example number 2. Now let's look at how it can be a subject. And remember, this means multiple words, right? Can be summarized into it. When he will arrive is not important. So this one is a little bit complex because look at it. Will arrive is the verb for he, right? Who or what will arrive? He. Now is another verb, and we can say, where is the subject for is? There's nothing there. And look at this. The connector is in the beginning, so there is supposed to be a comma that separates, right? According to what we saw in skill 7 and 8. But this is different because this is a noun clause, right? When he will arrive, again, like in example number 1 and in example number 2, when he will arrive can be summarized into it. It is not important. Oh, do we see our subject, right? So you see this whole structure, when he will arrive, is the noun or is the subject of the verb is, right? That's where it gets a little bit complex, right? So we have to detect this in the TOEFL test, all right? Now we're going to practice this. Make sure if you didn't understand it, you go back, pause the video, study it. This would be an example of a noun clause as a subject because it's the subject of the verb is. It's the subject of another verb, right? Even though there is already a subject, he and a verb will arrive in it and a connector, right? So it's complex, but if you got it, let's continue to the next part, all right? Now, here it explains everything, right? In the first example, there are two clauses, I know and he will arrive. These two clauses are joined with the connector when. When changes the clause, he will arrive into a noun clause that functions as the object of the verb know, right? That's why it's object of a verb. In the second example, the two clauses I am concerned and will arrive are also joined by the connector when. When changes the clause, he will arrive into a noun clause that functions as the object of a preposition about, right? And that's why in the second example, it's an object of a preposition. The third example is more difficult. See, it says it right here. In this example, there are two clauses, but they are a little harder to recognize. He will arrive is one of the clauses, and the connector when changes it into a noun clause that functions as the subject of the verb, or the subject of the sentence, or the subject of the verb is, right? The other clause has the noun clause when he will arrive as its subject and is as its verb. That's why it's a subject or noun clause as a subject, right? Okay, let's check an example then, how TOEFL will test you. Here, for example, it says something was late, caused many problems, right? So normally you would see a verb here, and you could say who was late or what caused problems. Well, what's the problem here? We have two verbs, so automatically we need what? One connector, right? And then we have two verbs, so we also need two subjects, right? What are our options? That he, the driver, there, because. Because I don't think would be correct because this is only a connector. There is not correct because this is only part of the subject, right? There was or there were. The driver is only one subject, and we need two subjects and a connector. Now let's look at this one. That is a connector, and we're going to check out the connectors right now. He is a subject, and that he could be a noun clause as a subject. Let's put it in. That he was late caused many problems. Yes, he was would be the first clause. That is the connector. And then the whole sentence, right? The whole structure, that he was late would be the noun clause as a subject for the verb cause. El hecho de que él llegó tarde causó u ocasionó muchos problemas, right? The fact that he was late caused many problems. It caused many problems, right? In other words, remember, we have to be able to summarize it into it. If we can summarize it into it, then it's correct, right? Now, the explanation here tells us, in this example, there are two verbs, was and caused, and each of these verbs needs a subject. Answer B is wrong because the driver is one subject and two subjects are needed. Answer C and D are incorrect because there and because are not subjects. The best answer is A. If you choose A, the completed sentence would be that he was late caused many problems, right? In this sentence, he is the subject of the verb was, and the noun clause that he was late is the subject of the verb caused, right? Okay, let's look at the different types of connectors that we have here. Noun clause connectors. Here we go. We have what, when, where, why, how, whatever, whenever, whether, if, and that. So we have here the noun clause as an object. I know what you did, right? We have a subject and a verb here. We have a noun connector, what, and then another subject verb. And if we put together that this phrase, what you did, we have a noun clause as an object. In this case, it's an object of a verb because it's after a verb, but if it were after a preposition, it would be a noun clause as an object of preposition, right? And of course, we can put it in the beginning as a noun clause as object. What you did was wrong, right? In this case, you did is a subject verb clause number one, and what you did in this case is the subject for the verb was, right? Remember that it can be summarized into it. I know it, right? And it was wrong, right? If you can do this, then it's correct, right? So this could be like a little tip that you can use. Okay, so now we're going to go with the exercise. We have here exercise number 9. Each of the following sentences contains more than one clause. Underline the subjects once, as always, right? And the verbs twice. Circle the connectors. So we have to circle our connectors. Put boxes around the noun clauses, right? And then indicate if the sentences are correct or incorrect. Let's look at number 1. When the season starts is determined by the weather. So we have our connector, right? Noun connector. When the season starts is subject verb. That's the first clause. And then is determined is the second verb. And then when the season starts can be it, right? So this is going to be the subject for is determined, and it's correct. It has all the elements, right? Let's look at number 2, the manual, how the device should be built. Okay, so we have a connector. How the device should be built is a subject and a verb. That's a clause. How the device should be built could be it, right? But what is the problem here? The problem is we're missing a verb. We could say the manual explains how the device should be built. The manual tells us how the device should be built, right? We need a verb for the manual, right? In this case, that's why it's incorrect. So I'm going to go ahead and show you 3 to 10. So you can go ahead and do them, and we will check them in a moment, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, please. Okay, ready? Let's look at the first one, well, number 3. The schedule indicated if the teams would be playing in the final game. Okay, so we have our subject schedule indicated. We have here our connector if, and then we have another subject here, the teams, and would be playing is my second verb. Now, where would be my noun clause, my noun, my it, right? Would it be the schedule indicated, or if the teams, the schedule indicated if the teams would be playing in the final game, right? In this case, this would be my noun clause. So the schedule indicated it, right? And it has all the elements. So number 3 is correct, right? No problem here. Okay, let's look at number 4. He refused to enter a plea could not be determined by the lawyer. Refused is my verb. Who refused? He. We have another verb here, could not be determined by the lawyer, right? And do we have a connector? No, right? We don't have a connector. So this one's going to be incorrect because we are missing a connector. It could be only he refused to enter the plea or something. Here we would probably need the connector here in the beginning. But yeah, this one's incorrect. No connector and no way to connect these ideas. Okay, let's look at number 5. Talked about where we should go for lunch. Whoa. First of all, you can't start a sentence with a verb, but okay, we have a verb here. Talked about, we have a connector where we is a subject, should go is a verb, and we could say that this was potentially the noun clause, right? Talked about the noun clause as an object of preposition, right? Talked about it because we could probably summarize this into it. But what is the mistake here? The problem here is that we don't have a subject, right, for talked. So we're missing a subject. It could say, we talked about it. We talked about where we should go for lunch. They talked about, he, she, right? We need a subject. So it's incorrect. Let's look at number 6. Why the condition of the patient deteriorated so rapidly, it was not explained. Okay, so we have a connector from the beginning, right? Why, el por qué, right? Deteriorated is a verb. What or who deteriorated? The condition of the patient, or the condition only, both are okay. Was not explained. This would be my second verb, right? And who or what was not explained? The condition, or why the condition of the patient deteriorated so rapidly. That would be my noun clause, my complete noun clause, because it would be, it was not explained, right? But it's incorrect. Why? Exactly, because we have an extra it, right? You see how sometimes we have an extra it, and TOEFL will do this, right? A little small it, but it's incorrect, right? The it should not be there. If the it, yeah, it's an extra subject, omit it. If it was not there, then it would be good, right? Okay, let's look at number 7. Whether or not the new office would be built was to be determined at the meeting. Okay, whether or not is my noun connector. The new office would be built is my verb. The new office is my subject for the verb would be built. We have another verb here, was to be determined at the meeting. Who or what was to be determined at the meeting? Whether or not the new office would be built, right? In this case, this is the complete subject, because again, I could say it was to be determined at the meeting, and everything is in order. So yes, number 7 is correct. No problem with number 7. Okay, let's look at number 8. That the professor has not yet decided when the paper is due. Okay, so according to this, we have our connector here in the beginning, that the professor has not yet decided, is my verb structure. Who or what has not yet decided? The professor. When we have another connector, and this is okay, But remember, if we have two connectors, how many verbs do we need? 3, right? Is due, who or what is due? The paper, but we don't have a third verb. So this is incorrect because we have an extra connector, right? So in order for number 8 to be correct, we need to put another verb, right? Like it says here, when the paper is due is certain. That the professor has not yet decided when the paper is due is certain, or eliminate a connector, right? Maybe the professor has not yet decided when the paper is due. The professor has not yet decided it, right? But yeah, it's incorrect. Let's look at number 9. The contract will be awarded is the question to be answered at the meeting. The contract will be awarded is my first verb. Who or what will be awarded? The contract. We have is, which is a second verb. We could say who or what is the question. The contract will be awarded is potentially my noun clause. But what are we missing? It's incorrect because we are missing over here my connector, my noun connector, right? When the contract will be awarded is the question to be answered at the meeting, right? Or yeah, we have when the contract, we have a missing connector, and it is incorrect because of that. Okay, and let's look at our last one, number 10. He always talked with whomever he pleased and did whatever he wanted. Okay, so we have our first verb, talked. Who or what talked? He. Whomever is going to be noun connector. He pleased. Pleased is pleased and did, right? Actually, yeah, whenever you have like a connector, let's remember like and, we have to put that together. Okay, whatever, we have a second connector. So what do we need? 3 verbs. And here we have it. Wanted. We have 3 verbs, talked, pleased and did, because that's part of the same structure, verb structure, and wanted. We have 3 verbs, 2 connectors. So he always talked with whomever he pleased and did whatever he wanted. He always talked with whomever. Yeah, so he always talked with whomever he pleased and did. I'm thinking here the noun connector is going to be this one, and did it, right? Which would be a noun clause as a verb. It is correct. It has all the elements. Yeah, it's correct, but I'm not really sure where we would put the noun clause. If you know, please put it in the comments. Help me out. I'm only human. I don't know everything, even though I'm the teacher. But yeah, he always talked with it. No, I'm thinking he always talked with whomever he pleased and did it, right? And in this case, the it would be did whatever he wanted. Okay. Yeah, because we can't put it in the beginning, and we can't put it after with, like he always talked with it, because we still have the other part, right? Whatever he wanted. So we have another noun clause. So yeah, I think this one is at the end. Okay, very good. Hope you enjoyed the video for today. If you have any questions, comments, put it in the comments section. And that's all for this class. So have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.